Good morning, everyone, and you're very welcome to the Man United Agenda. I am joined this morning, bright and early, by OMONDI Juma, and we will be bringing you the latest news and stories and gossip as they appear in the media today. A very good morning, everyone, and a very good morning to you, OMONDI Juma. How are you doing on this Tuesday?
I'm marvellous. How are you doing, Rebel? We're through to the next round, so I'm feeling sweet. Regardless of the result, not the result, regardless of the performance, we're through. That's the main thing I'm reflecting on this morning. And I'm more interested now about getting this window, something done in this window.
Absolutely. I suppose so far this window has been dominated by players that want to leave, then players that were trying to get in. And of course, it's only natural that today's papers are dominated by the headline of Manchester United walking into the fourth round of the FA Cup. Of course, a game that we will face against Middlesbrough at home in Old Trafford later on in the month. But
I think it's in February, early February. I think next round, yeah. But yeah, it's true. The papers are going to be dominated. I mean, it was the only game on last night, and major game. So yeah, I woke up this morning and it's all Man United. It's all talk, anything they can find to talk about Man United. And the game last night, they've reported it. So yeah, it's all about us right now.
Absolutely. I think just kind of hit at a few of the broader headlines on the game that we went from the stories about Gerrard being disappointed about his reception to obviously the talk about Rashford, which we'll come to in a moment. But the overarching story for me is that, again, they question the performance levels of certain players. So again, that is something that will obviously be fleshed out during the month, and as to whether any action will be taken in terms of replacing some of these guys, or whether their performance can be brought up to a standard that is befitting of a Manchester United shirt. But I suppose I want to come to you on the Rashford thing before we get into the real gossipy articles of today. What do you think is going wrong there for Marcus Rashford?
Well, look, there's two things highlighted yesterday. It was on BBC terrestrial TV. He had Dion Dublin on the commentary, and he was saying some really interesting things about Rashford, saying he lacked that sort of instinct, the instinct to be if you're a striker, you got that instinct to get that second ball, always be anticipating things in the box. And Rashford, there was two opportunities where Rashford, two examples really, where Rashford really sort of didn't go the extra mile to try to anticipate things, and he could have been in a position to score a goal from a deflection from the keeper or anticipating things like that. So that is the evidence to sort of to state that he was there was something, an issue there, and that's where he needs to improve if he wants to be sharp. Because really, at the end of the day, you're judged by your goals, you know. But at the moment, because he's not scoring goals, he's been scrutinised by his performance, and his performance really is not that good. He gives the ball away. He's running into traffic all the time. He's not distributing the ball. Didn't really cross the ball that often yesterday, even though he's playing wide. And yeah, I just feel that there's something wrong. Like you mentioned this yesterday, Rebel. You were very observant. You were saying about his body language, and I do feel there's an issue with his body language. He doesn't seem to have that sort of zest, and that was something that Shearer added to as well. He said that he seems to be flat and seems to have no spark in him. And this is a player who is all about spark and being alive and electric, and gets the fans on their feet. This is what we know of Rashford since he first came on the scene. So yeah, there is an issue there, I believe, and I think it's more of a mental issue. And when I say mental, I'm talking about, like I discussed on the show yesterday, IQ, lacking IQ to make the right decisions, and maybe forcing it, trying too hard to get himself back into the side, into the setup. And we know that Ralph has made a comment recently saying that he's done well in training, and that's the reason he got into the first team. So delivering at Man United just shows that he gets to a stage and maybe he's plateaued, and maybe he needs some extra input on the mental side of his game, which Ralph could probably help with. What do you think about that?
I just actually want to expand slightly on the Shearer comment there, because I actually found rather interesting, because as we know, players that are playing the Premier League are not immune to mental health problems either. We saw it with Jesse Lingard. He did overcome quite a bit to get himself back into the space that he performed with West Ham at the end of last season. But Shearer's comment last night, in addition to the spark comment, was when you look at the body language of some players, I don't want to single out Marcus Rashford because it's clear he's low in confidence. We do not know what's going on in his personal life. So Shearer did allude that there may be something going on in the background, and you would hope that he's getting the support if that is the case.
Yeah, if that's the case, we can only speculate, but judging by the evidence is what his body language looks like on the pitch and his performances. I think as sportsmen, we can look on and say, oh, they're paid millions and they've got the lifestyle. All they have to do is go and perform on the pitch. But clearly there is an issue, as you've seen many examples of players over the years where they've had sort of depression or something going on in their personal life, which sort of affects their performance. And this is why, again, we feel that Ralph is probably best suited for this because he can bring in people to sort of support them with this. So psychological guys, motivationals, speakers, or someone to come into the team to help people with this side of the game, which we as guys on the street don't really. We think, oh, what are you worried about? I'm struggling to pay my rent and think, and you're driving around in a flash car, but obviously it's levels and it still remains the same. So yeah, there could be something in that. And if he does need support, I suggest that Man United get behind him and the fans as well. And just like with Phil Jones, because everyone was cussing Phil Jones for a long period of time. He was the meme with the faces and all that kind of thing. And then it turns out that maybe he might have been depressed and it might have got to him. And now people are a bit reluctant to sort of say anything negative about him. Now he's become sort of the hero.
Absolutely. I suppose, and the last thing I want to touch on with regards to the last night's performance is it would seem that Diego Dalot apparently paid through a bit of a pain barrier in that he did pick up a bit of a blow during the first half of the game and managed to see it out. How impressive is that from the player that he wanted to continue and do his job for the team?
Well, clearly, what's impressive, it was not really impressive, but he had an injury and he was able to perform. He was able to sprint. He was able to carry on through the remainder of the game. So I think that's fair enough. It was credit to him. But Rebel, we come from an age where players would get like a broken neck and run it off. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. It's like Terry Butcher, Paul Ince, big blows to the head, blood everywhere, and they just put the bandage on and they want to continue. So I'm glad it shows character that he wants to continue, because if he would have came off, it's like there would be how bad was the injury? Did he really need to come off? That kind of thing. I'm happy he did continue. I thought it was more like a superficial wound, like blood. Maybe he got scraped down the ankle or something like that, which drew blood. It seemed they were trying to stop the blood flow or something like that. But I'm happy that he continued. It shows that he does want to do well at Manchester United. And you yourself, going back to you, Rebel, you said yesterday he performed really well, you felt.
Absolutely. Up to his yellow card, I thought he was on track for being our best player on the field. But obviously then some players can play on with the same tenacity with the yellow card because they're risk adverse. But obviously he pretty much said, right, we need to rein it in now. And he basically tried to manage himself through the rest of the game. And it probably took away a bit of that spark that we saw from him. Now, the one thing I will say, the overarching thing that I loved was seeing our fullback attack. Obviously, we know all about what Aaron Wan-Bissaka can give a team. We know exactly what is in his wheelhouse and where his skill set terminates in terms of his attacking style and our ability, even his ability to attack. But Dalot, I criticised him a lot at the start, and I didn't believe that we were ever going to see a player that might be worthy of wearing a Manchester United jersey. But he's slowly, bit by bit, telling me that, yes, I may be a good enough player for Manchester United, and he's slowly bringing me around to he could do it. I don't know if he's doing the same for you.
Unfortunately, there is no limitations for him. The sky's the limit. I've always thought that. I thought when we purchased him, I was I thought that was a fantastic signing. Someone who's got no ceiling. He can be one of the best fullbacks in the world if he wants to be, you know. And I think having that experience, because since he's been at Manchester United, he's always been the understudy. There's always been question marks about him. It's a huge club. It's a bit overwhelming for some players, isn't it? But and especially as a youngster to come in like that. But obviously, he went to AC Milan last season. I think that was the making of him, playing in the great defensive league like that, great tactical league like that, and he really expressed himself and really was highly rated and touted after that experience at AC Milan. So that was the good thing for Man United to send him there, especially rather than sending maybe to the Championship or something. I think he learned so much, and he's playing for his international. He plays for Portugal as well. When they got players like Cancelo and thing, he still gets games, and I think he's a great addition to our club, and potentially could be a first-team player going forward in the future. There is no, like I said, there's no, with Wan-Bissaka, there's limitations. You say, okay, we've reached that stage now where we're actually questioning whether he can improve the attacking side of his game. So with Dalot, the attacking side of the game is okay. We're seeing lots of things to be thankful for. He can go forward. He can even drive a fullback or defender and step over. And look, he's always looking to cross the ball. He's always looking to attack. And that's what you need in modern day fullbacks, you know. But the defensive side of his game, as you said yesterday, he was getting in headers. He was trying hard. He's got something to prove. And I think his positioning has never been in doubt, in my opinion. There was a game early in the season getting the Champions League where people were saying, oh, maybe he's getting found out. Or Dan Juma last season, I think it was apparently was ripping him a new one. I don't know about that. I just think it's about if he got positioning and he's got the pace and he just stands up on people, doesn't need to dive in. I think he can always do well. And I'm yet to see any major flaws where I can say, because I will pick it out, where I can say there's an issue there with his defending. I think his defending is okay as long as he does the right thing. Same applies with Trent. Everyone picks him out, but a lot of the time it's to do with the system and the shape that they play, which why they get exploited in that area when Trent goes forward. But I think it's all about positioning for our young boy Dalot. And I think going forward, we've just got to get behind him because there is a player there, as you see. And let's give him the confidence. I think it's all about confidence as well. The confidence yesterday, rave reviews after the performance and getting the injury and continuing going on. He lasted the game and he'd be proud of himself and seeing the reports today.
I suppose just before we go any further on Monday, I just want to say a very good morning to Ola Cunley, Matthew Bassett, Stephen Jenkins, and Sharindi MS. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. And UK Strains is also here. And the boss man, the gaffer, he's got out of his bed and he's awake and alive. Solo 7. Good morning, gaffer. How are you doing today?
Good morning, all.
But on Monday, I suppose that brings us to the more gossipy side of things. Now we've had a look at what happened last night. We've given a quick few thoughts on Rashford. We've given a quick few thoughts on Dalot and all the other bits and bobs. But just to touch on one of yesterday's topics, I brought it into my news and gossip section yesterday about Cristiano Ronaldo. And of course, our favorite agent, well, one of our favorite agents at this point, Jorge Mendes. And the instruction that he was believed to have said to hold crisis talks with Manchester United hierarchy. And actually, just to mention the hierarchy briefly, it was picked up on by the BBC yesterday that they could not figure out the structure with the Murta, with Fletcher, with now the likelihood that Rangnick is going to be a consultant, inverted commas, and they're saying, are we still a bit of a mess in terms of our chain of command up there? But at the moment, Cristiano Ronaldo seems to be allegedly unhappy with the way things have gone, and it was even described as pear-shaped. And I just want to get your input as you're here with me this morning as to how you feel about the whole Cristiano Ronaldo situation before we go on to talk about potential transfers in and out.
Okay, so I watched your show yesterday. Brilliant. I do think it's always a talking point when you've got someone like Ronaldo at the club about the effect that he has. I think there's been a lot of negativity that comes out. He's news. This is what I'm saying. Who is it the other day? You guys on the show were talking about how many Instagram followers they have. I think he has more Instagram followers than actually Manchester United. So he's always going to be in the news, and there's always going to be speculation about him. One thing I do like about Cristiano Ronaldo is the bar. He shows you what the bar is. And in modern football, he's one of the best players around. Him and Messi, a few others are up there, really professional. And the reason why they can play so long and so good at such a high level is because of the professionalism. And I think that's what when you come in, it's like someone who shows you up. You know, like for example, me at my job. Sometimes I can have days off in my job where I don't do anything and I can get away with it. I call it winging it. And I think I'm getting paid for something and I can act like I'm doing something. The boss comes in, change my screen, looks like I'm working. I can just, just do enough to make sure it looks like I'm producing and meeting all my targets. And I think that applies with football as well. What's happened here, I believe, is Ronaldo's come into the club. He's coming with his usual high standards, something we haven't seen since he's last been at the club or when Roy Keane was there, that kind of thing. And that's something that's lacking at the player side of things. And I think a lot of these players have been winging it. A lot of these players have been cheating and hiding. And I think he's not going to hide. He's going to call them out. And this is why since he's come, you've seen the pot has been stirred and a lot of stories are coming out. And if he is unhappy, damn right, because he was coming to a club, coming from Juve, for example, which had been ultra professional, and coming to Manchester United and realizing, hold on a minute, what's going on here? He needs to call it out. And I as a player as well, I call out things when things aren't going well or when I've seen players slacking or not doing what they're supposed to do and having a bad attitude. I call it out. And I get a lot of heat in my teams over the years where I've been playing because people don't like me because I'm saying to them on the pitch or off the pitch, I'm not afraid to say to them, the standards are poor. You got to do better. You got to, start your position or whatever it is. Do a lot better than that. And I think that's what Ronaldo gives you. And I think it's the positive thing. And if you can't step up to it, then you need to go because it's about winning. And we haven't been winning. Unless you've been winning for the last 8-9 years, which we haven't been, then you can say something. Obviously, he's seen the standards are poor and fair play to Ronaldo for calling it out. But then there's going to be leak out. There's going to be players unhappy. Luke Shaw, apparently, or Harry Maguire, or whatever. People are going to be affected by it. But so be it. Let's move on. We need to win things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just as a commenter there, actually, I'm going to let you take this one away if you don't mind on Monday.
Yeah. Hi, Shrinda. How you doing? Shrindi, sorry. He says, this is regarding Ronaldo. He says, I don't believe if someone says Ronaldo is the issue. He just demands the best. Some players are unable to cope with high demands. The studs of United are always high. The standards of United are always high. Yeah, he's just repeating exactly what I was just saying now about the standard and the measuring bar. If you're not going to meet it at Man United and you're going to hide and cheat, then you're going to get found out. Clearly, great comment there.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And bad time. It's that I haven't started work yet. As soon as this stream is over, I will be rushing up to my computer to kickstart my day, unfortunately.
Hold on. This is work. This is work for us. We are, this is our job. We love this. And I'm working at 12 today. So, yeah, everyone these days does different shifts. So we find the time to get this work done, even if it's voluntary. But we love this.
So we have been linked with numerous players in this window already. I think if we try to write them down, we could probably go from my house to your house with the list at this point. And I'm all the way over here in Ireland. But one name that hasn't gone away, and it's a name that you want to talk about, is a Borussia Mönchengladbach player, a central defensive midfielder, Swiss international, Zakaria. What have you to mention about him this morning on Monday?
Well, look, this guy's come on the radar only recently. He used to be touted after by Arsenal. Arsenal have always been linked with him for the last few years. He's a good player. He came from Young Boys, actually, a team that we played in the Champions League group stages this year. Swiss international. He's very strong. He's a good footballer. And you can pigeonhole him as a number 6, literally. He's a good player. He played in Mönchengladbach side for a period of time now. They've been in the Champions League. They've had a lot of success. I think they beat Bayern Munich the other day as well on the Friday. So they're a good side, and obviously his contract's running out. So anyone like that you've got to look at because for one, they're international. 2, they're a good player. 3, they fit the criteria because they're centre midfielder as well. So we'd be naive not to look at players like this. Ideally, when I'm a bit disheartened really because I put Kesse over him from what I've seen. Just the eye test, I prefer Kesse, but I wouldn't be too disheartened by getting a freebie or even like a 10-15 million pound transfer for Zakaria for 2 reasons. I think he would fit in. He would do a better job than what we got in the moment, as in not Matic, but I'm talking about Fred and McTominay. I think he can do a better job than those 2. And secondly, my name's Zach and his name's Zach. So this town will be big enough. I will accept him into the UK because I'm the biggest Zach in town.
Absolutely, absolutely. I suppose you mentioned actually Kessie. He is another player that, of course, is available on a free transfer this summer. So you'd imagine that if these players are going to reject contracts, that now is a good time maybe to get those reinforcements in and help structure us for the rest of the season. But the outlanding story at the moment, in particular with Zakaria, is that apparently Manchester United have yet to make an official contact. And if this is a player that's on our radar, surely at this point of the January window, we are talking to the ones that we want to try and get in. Now, there is an overarching story that we would be signing nobody, and that is a worrying perspective looking at the way that things are going for us. But is that something to be concerned with?
Well, yeah, I think, like you said, there's credible sources. Romano, he's come out and said Manchester United are interested, so that's confirmed. I think we have to accept that is the news and that is the truth. But he also says the bid is yet to be made, and I think, well, if my thing is this: are we desperately in need of a centre midfielder? And I've looked at it, and I've looked at all the other positions on. So defence, goalkeeper, I think we're okay for now. This is about the January transfer window. What are we desperately in need of? Defense, I think, is fine. As you say, Dalot, you got the fullbacks are okay, centre backs are okay. Harry Maguire is a great player, as you know. But when you come to midfield, it's a centre midfield position that we're kind of concerned about. As we saw against Wolves, for example, we need someone in there. We need someone, an extra man in there. It's going to give us something extra that we don't have at the moment in Fred and McTominay. I mean, you guys are boasting up about them doing what number sixes should do, getting back and trying to work hard. This is what number sixes should do. But we need a player on top of that who's got something added to their game, who can distribute the ball a lot better than those two, Fred and McTominay. And I think you get that in Kiri, for example.
I would throw you a question.
Yeah.
I would throw you a question. You mentioned central midfielders. We do have a player that's out on loan. He featured against a certain Gooner team and was integral to what they've done. Should we have thought about maybe recalling him, given the situation we are in?
No, I think James Garner is a fantastic talent, fantastic player for the future. I think you got to like last year, let him have a whole season on loan. And I think if you break it up and bring him in now, it's going to be what's going to happen is he's going to be sitting on the bench and you're going to kill his flow, blow his buzz. At the moment, he's buzzing. Let him get that more experience there. Let him continue to play for Nottingham Forest and for the end of the season. They're on the rise. Why take him out of the side that's like gone from almost bottom and almost touching the playoffs? I think they're ninth or something, but only a few points away from the playoffs. So they're on the rise. They're really confident at the moment. And as we saw, we got the whole country got a chance to witness him against Arsenal, and he played a really good game. This is what I mean. Look at his positioning. Did you have to see him tackle? Pinch the ball a couple of times, but his positioning was really good. His passing was fabulous. His free kicks, I mean, you saw the free kick he had against Arsenal as well. So this is a player that I think we all agree on the Man United agenda. That's a really talented player and someone who should maybe be given an opportunity. But what we don't want to do is bring him in and then keep him on the bench. Give him another. Don't bring him back from loan. Let him finish the season with Nottingham Forest. Let him see what he does, and then so when he comes back into the Man United fray, he can say, "Here's my credentials. Look at my CV. I've done this with Forest 2 years running, and I think I'm ready now." So I think it's the right way to go, and it's nice to see that we've got talented players like that come in. Just to add, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit, but something that really impressed me is you got a left-footed guy called Patterson. I think is his name, Patterson from Man City. He played Patterson. I think it's Patterson. Begins with P anyway. Left-footed wand. A bit like Foden. Really talented. So what we saw, I think it was England under 21 game recently. We had they played 4-3-3, and it was Garner, the guy Patterson, and Conor Gallagher in midfield, and they ran the show. Those three together, and these are three talented England midfielders. I know Patterson, or whatever his name is, been playing a bit forward on the inside forward position, but as those three in midfield, and Garner was one of them, and I'm looking at three of them thinking, wow, they're already decent players. Conor Gallagher, you know what he's doing in the Premiership. You've seen what Patterson's doing now for Man City. He's starting to come in and look fantastic. I think got MOM the other day in the FA Cup. And now we've got Garner, who's at Man United. He deserves the opportunity too, because they're three great little talents.
I hate to do this to you, Monday, but I am going to try and crack on because we do have 2 more stories that we need to bring before we draw the curtain on today. But I will ask you for your one-word answer to Batline's question here. Have you written off Pogba as being a reliable member of the squad?
No.
No. We will get into the reasons why maybe in a later show, but for the moment, Monday says no.
Are you, Rebel? Have you?
In my head, I think he's already checked out. And so I think yes, on the basis of where he is going mentally and not on his talent. But we'll go into maybe Pogba in a later show. But we'll move on to, before we get on to the main event, and that is Dean Henderson. We'll talk about there's a young teenage defender from Sheffield that we're being linked with. And on Monday, I'm going to get you to kick this one off again if you don't mind.
Okay, so look, any young, talented England defenders or players you need to have a look at. This guy's come through. He played in the FA Cup. He lost 3-0 the other day against Wolves, who gave us licks the other day, and he put on a good performance. His name is Kyron Gordon. He's strong, fast, talented. He's only 19, I think. He's still a teenager. But Leeds and Manchester United have been linked with him, and this is what's encouraging Sheffield United to sign him up with a new contract. So it's good to see these young players come through. Sheffield United have got a good record of bringing through great centre-backs, as we see evidence with Harry Maguire. So fair play to the young lad. I suggest everyone go look him up because he's getting the headlines at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose, of course, when you do mention these links with young centre-backs that are yet to pretty much make that jump into Premier League football, I can't help but think that a lot of these glitz and glamour that has been put on their transfer is affecting them, because when you think about back in the day when a young player was brought in that was seen as a prospect, they were an addendum in the transfer market, whereas now there's a big deal being made out of all their moves. And I look at Manchester United, and we do seem to be developing quite a number of young teenage players that could potentially develop into that starting Premier League centre-back. So I think it's a bit unfortunate for young Gordon that his name is being so publicised, because that is going to come with a certain weight. We saw it with Dan James when he joined us. There was a certain weight of expectation put on when he put on that Manchester United shirt. Unfortunately, ultimately, it didn't work out for him at Manchester United, and he ultimately joined Leeds, who he was going to be joining the year before had things progressed the way that he'd hoped. But what I would like to see, though, is if we are targeting players, at the moment what we need is starting 11 ready players in the younger age of the spectrum. Is putting our hopes on a teenager to fill that void asking a lot of them?
Yeah, it was asking a lot, but it's all about character, I think. Even at that young age, you got to say to yourself, you got to, like as Robin Williams would say, seize the day. And opportunities don't come along often. You have to, in a footballer's life, if you talk to most footballers, they will find out, my club didn't tell me this big club was interested in me. What happened there? I would have taken that. Or maybe, they've been blocked, things have been blocked. I think in this case here, this is the case of Sheffield United wanting to sign him up into a new contract because he performed well. A lot of these clubs, like Sheffield United, for example, if you've got a great talent like that, you don't want to show him off too much because suddenly the eyes are on at you, and so it's all right looking good, but then you got to go, as Alex Ferguson would do. He would want you to look at the player and scout a player and say, right, he looks good. He would also find out about what his background's like, what his character's like, all these issues that you say, which you're saying now, could affect a player coming into a big club. We've seen it before. These big young players come through, a bit like Martial, for example, with big expectation, and then they don't really, don't really perform how they should do. I think you've got to do something to keep people motivated. It's the main thing. You have to keep, like we talked about with Rashford, you have to keep players motivated at all times. Find a way, whatever that is, find that thing where you can push their button to keep them on it at all times. Focus on the team, on your job, on full time. That's the main thing out here. So with someone like this youngster, he probably today is feeling sweet, thinking, oh my God, yeah, I'm getting rave reviews. That I'm really happy about that. But it can either go two ways. You could say to yourself, I've made it, or you can say, I'm happy about that. That's the standard I want to reach. I want to be. My goals are to win the World Cup, win the Premiership. Win, you got to have some sort of real goals, and these are realistic goals for any young player out there. You just got to go out there and believe in yourself and push yourself and be motivated to do better all the time. Don't plateau.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this morning. If you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. If you're already one of our wonderful, wonderful long-term viewers, please remember to hit that like button and follow us by hitting that bell to let you know when we are going live and bringing you the latest news regarding Manchester United or the watch-alongs or all our wonderful suite of programs that we do have available here on the Man United agenda. I just want to say good morning to a few more people. Madame Hell is after joining us, and Bat Time is now also in the building. So good morning to you both. I hope your Tuesday is going well. But now we have reached the main event on Monday, and that is over the position that you feel that we are in an okay area in, if, of course, our two players remain on the billing for the January window. But Dean Henderson has told Ralph Rangnick, and it's believed that Ralph Rangnick has confirmed this, that he wants to hit the long road and get out of Dodge. We spoke last night about the differential between what we saw of De Gea, who put on a solid performance and was good for us, and Martinez, who was so quick off his line and was not afraid to put his body in between the attacking players. Is it a concern that Henderson wants to leave, or could you actually look at this another way? And could it be that Ralph Rangnick has assessed both players and doesn't feel that Henderson is the one that's going to be his goalkeeper going forward, and feels that at the moment that De Gea does an adequate enough job for what he needs to do, and is happy to persist with De Gea until such time as he changes the entire goalkeeping landscape?
Yeah, I think you have to have trust in Ralph. I respect Ralph, and I've noticed Ralph always making comments about De Gea. Even last night, he was saying De Gea played really well in goal, and I would have expected that was an opportunity yesterday for Henderson to play, and he didn't. So as Henderson, this is what we talked about earlier in previous discussion. We said about character. We're talking about character of players, and I think Dean Henderson has got that character. When you look at the Villa goalkeeper, look what he did in Copa America. He was in the penalty shootout. He showed a lot of character. He was able to put off the people taking the penalties. And against Colombia, for example, if you go and check that out, he showed a character, showed a personality, and a ruthlessness. And I think that's what you need in goalkeepers and in players as well. And the thing with Dean Henderson, I think he's got that too. He's also strong, vocal. He comes out, claims balls better than De Gea. Does similar to Martinez. Martinez was at Arsenal for a long time, and he had a lot of character to say, no, I don't want to be understudy. I'm good enough. And he's moved on and since proved that he's good enough. It took Arsenal a long time before they've content now with the other goalkeeper they've got now, Ramsdale, for example. So I do think Henderson shows a lot of character. He wants to play. He wants to do well. What happened last season, they started to rotate, and it got to the point where Henderson was the Premiership goalkeeper and De Gea was only playing in the Europa League, and that gave Henderson a lot of confidence, saying, look at me, this is what I can do. But one mistake, the only mistake I can recall against Liverpool when he allowed Salah to score, he left him open space. Otherwise, I thought he played really well. There was nothing wrong. But what you got to do, as we're seeing with De Gea now, De Gea's come back into the frame, and he's making all these fantastic saves, and he's getting rave reviews. But that comes from consistent game time. Goalkeeper's really difficult position. It's great. It's difficult to be understudy at 24, 25 years old when you're good enough and you should be playing. So I'm at the point now where I'm saying he is good enough. He should have got an opportunity, more of an opportunity, especially like yesterday, for example, could have easily played. And if he does want to go, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because it shows you've got character. And then we're losing a player who's got character, who actually wants to play and wants to do well. Disappointing.
Absolutely. Just two quick stories that have just popped up on my screen. Ralph Rangnick, in regards to yesterday's game, is pleased with the aggression that Manchester United shows, but it is believed to begin to be frustrated by the tame pressing game that the players displayed. So obviously he's keen to bring Manchester United into the same space as your Liverpools and your Cities, etc., and play a more high-tempo game. And so far, his efforts are frustrated by the player's output on field by the looks of it. And the second one is concerning one Declan Rice. And Glenn Johnson is poking his beak into Manchester United business with this comment saying that looking at Donny van der Beek and his struggles, he thinks that this might turn Declan Rice off coming to the club because he may suffer from the similar fate. Is that something that is of concern to players now? Because they are starting to see a pattern of players arriving at Manchester United and more often than not then being underutilised and disregarded.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Before you make a big deal like that, he stayed at West Ham, and where he's been touted after. This is a guy who plays. He's a first teamer for England, as you saw in the Euros. So his stock has really gone up. So if he is to make a move, his next move, it's down to him to discuss terms and conditions about. So if, say, for example, he wanted to come to Man United, or the deal was made to come to Man United, he could turn it down if he looked at it and said, how am I guaranteed first team football? Am I going to be a first? What's the vision for me in this club over the next 10 years? That's what he should be doing. So any player making a move, you're not going to make that move if you're told, well, we might be bringing you in. We might, I think he's at the age now, Rice, where he's proven. He's got the CV. So it's like with Garner. Garner can come back in the summer. I've got the CV. I've done what you want me to do. I've played at a high standard, best I could at Nottingham Forest. Now you got to consider me. And the same applies to Rice. If we did look at him, he would be a first team player based on what we're seeing, what we got in there at the moment. He's produced. He's turned my head. That's for sure. Over the last couple of years, I didn't think he was that good a player, but I do now. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he would bring something positive to Man United. So it's down to him and his agent when he's discussing the contract. Don't worry about what's happening with Donny. Donny's not. Maybe Donny doesn't have the character to come out there and really show it or really push to be played in the first team. Who knows? But I think with Rice, if you're making that move, wherever he goes, Chelsea, Man United, wherever his next move is, he needs to demand in his contract. It'd be stupid not to say, I want to be a first team player, and this is part of it. £100 million player they're touting him as. Surely he's got to be in the first team.
Absolutely. And I suppose my final question for you this morning on Monday, and I do appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to join me here to discuss the ongoings of Manchester United. The £100 million question: will Manchester United make a signing in this January window? Yes or no?
Woo! Hopefully, yes. What do you think, Reb?
I went into this window very hopeful that maybe he'd bring in 2 or 3 players, maybe not automatic first team players, but players that could have been built in to the long-term process of what he's trying to achieve at Manchester United. I hoped maybe that he'd deliver, like you, a central midfielder to us, because I do believe we are thin in that area, because there was a comment from Bat Time earlier, and I want to pick it up on it. If anything happens to Scott or Fred, we are frankly screwed. There's no pleasant way to put it, because we do not have a volume of support players to come in behind it. Even last night, talking about the centre-back position, things were quite thin. If anything happened to any of the starting centre-backs, I don't think we had a centre-back on the bench.
They were warming up Tellez, weren't they, when who was down? Lindelof? Was Lindelof down? Injured?
Yes, he went
down. He hit the bar, when he ran into the post. They were warming up Tellez, so that would have suggested Luke Shaw would have gone into centre-back and Tellez gone left-back. So that speaks volumes.
Exactly. You are getting a good morning greeting from Mr. K.
Right back at you, Mr. K, Spurs supporter, top man. Respect, bruv. Have a great day.
But speaking of having a great day, I think unless now there's any fantastic breaking news that we can literally hit you with, we've pretty much hit our program of events for this morning. So on Monday, final word to you. What are you looking forward to in terms of the rest of the week? Where will we see you again on the United agenda the rest of the week? And any last messages to the viewers?
Yeah, there are shows planned for Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, you've got Mr. B's Steak Takeout as well. And obviously at the weekend, we've got games again. What I do want to see, just quickly to go to Man United, I want to see improvements in the side. It's like we're going up, take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, that kind of thing. But we've got to persist with it. Persist. I know it's not great viewing. It's not good eye candy at the moment. But like you say, with your quote from Ralph, He wanted physicality a few weeks ago. He actually got that yesterday. He said he got the physicality. Now it's down to the pressing. He needs to get a bit more from that to get the desired effect from what he wants from his system. So let's keep getting behind Ralph and keep getting behind Man United.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. K, I do see your question for a Monday, and myself, what I would say to you is we will answer that. Well, there you go. I was going to say we'll answer it in the comments after, but there you go. You heard it from the defensive coordinator's mouth. No, and definitely not. And I tend to agree. I think given the situation we have at Manchester United with players that get their heads turned or have off-field issues, I do think it's time that we stepped away from that. Those are players that, when you're functioning well, that you can afford to bring in as a luxury player. But at the moment, we need to get our mentality right here at Manchester United. So that just leaves me to say thank you all for joining us this morning. And we wish you all the best for the rest of your day. And if anything does happen during the day, we'll be back with you as soon as we possibly can. So good morning, good night, and good evening, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.